I just felt compelled to come on here and tell you guys a little bit of a life story that I feel could really change somebody else's life. If they heard it, it's something that if I was to hear this, back when I was younger, a younger version of myself, it would have just given me a lot more hope and a better outlook on life. And that's just kind of the story of how did I get to where I am? How did I get to the point where, I'm able to consistently wake up early in the morning, go to the gym, meal prep, work on my cars on the weekend, do the things I enjoy, still be able to go, and work a full-time job, but still, like I said, still have time to improve myself, go to the gym, and have fun with all my hobbies. And I feel like, it kind of goes back to, I guess, a little bit of just the way I thought when I was younger. And I'm not the best with timelines or whatever, so you guys can bear with me here. But when I was younger, I don't remember exactly off the top of my head right now what it was that really got me into it, but at some point, I kind of do, and it's coming back to me. I was always, what's the best words to put this? I was into cars and stuff like that when I was younger and growing up. Adam LZ was like, one of my favorite guys to watch. I used to watch some of his BMX stuff and all the little different car shit that he did. And I used to see him drifting in his 240, and I thought that was like the fucking coolest thing in the world. And that was kind of like, drifting was like the only thing I wanted to do. It was kind of like all I thought about. And this was probably, 12, 13 or so, something like that. And for the longest time, after watching all of that, obviously I couldn't get a car at that age as much as I had, I was like, oh, maybe I'll could go on Facebook Marketplace and try to find cars and lowball people or whatever. And I quickly found out, that's not really an option. So I did discover a game called Assetto Corsa where I could get a fucking steering wheel and hook it up to the computer, and, I could sim race and do all that fun stuff. So after a lot of convincing, one year for Christmas, I got a steering wheel set up with a little gear shift and some pedals and all that stuff. And, I finally got my Assetto Corsa set up, and I was kind of, set out on learning how to drift and just kind of learning to get good at driving so that when I could finally drive, I'd be able to drift and do all these fun things. And I remember I used to always tell everyone, oh, I'm gonna practice on here for, I don't know, I had so many damn hours into that game when I was younger, but I used to tell people, oh yeah, I'm gonna get good at this because, I want to learn to drift and do all that shit in real life. And of course, some 13-year-old kid is telling you that he drifts on this video game, so he's never gonna, that's not gonna translate into real life. It's just a video game. And I'd always be like, oh no, it's basically like the real thing. Obviously you can't feel the car or whatever, but that was the closest I could get to driving a car. You have a steering wheel with force feedback that connects to your PC, and you got a gear shift. And I had it set up so the gear shift was like a right-hand drive, just because I like Japanese cars and shit like that. And I spent hours and hours just kind of playing this game over and over, and eventually, I got decent at drifting in this video game or whatever. Throughout it, I didn't quite, know exactly much about it, how to do it. It was just a whole lot of all gas, no brakes, and just kind of turning the steering wheel around. You're 12, 13 years old, you don't really know how to drive very much to begin with. But yeah, with time, I kind of I kind of learned it. And, when it finally came time to get my first car, I really wanted something that was rear wheel drive so I could drift. And, obviously I wasn't able to convince my parents to get me, something that's rear wheel drive that I'd be able to drift, just because, your teenager comes to you and they're like, oh, I want to get a drift car. Like, oh, hold on, slow down there. You're probably, things aren't going to end too well. But then I finally did end up getting my Subaru when it came time to get a car. And when I finally got the Subaru, my interest in drive for, the video games slowly started to taper away, because, I now had something in like this physical form that was, real to me. It was the actual fucking car, and I got it before I even got my license. And yeah, now I had something in a physical form, and I didn't really care too much about drifting. And I mean, I still wanted a drift car, but I didn't care too much about, drifting on the sim and doing all that stuff, because I now, like, I had something that, it was in front of me. And it was a goal to get, since I couldn't get something that was rear wheel drive, the Subaru was my next goal. And that was a car I really wanted. And getting it even before my license, I used to come home from school and then I'd just kind of sit in the car and wax it and, I don't know, clean that shit like 4 times a week. Kept it looking nice, but, it was a physical item that not just, it represented something that I now had, and trying to escape into a false reality of what video games are just didn't really seem appeasing to me. And as I, once I finally did get my license and all this stuff, and I got to drive it more, I went down the rabbit hole of modding it and all that stuff, and that's still an adventure I'm going through even today. But before I got this car, I was always kind of more of a quiet person in school. I didn't really talk to a whole lot of people. I didn't really have a whole lot of interest in trying to find, more people to talk to. I was just kind of like an in my head kind of person, I just didn't really, I don't know, like, I wanted some sort of, not just attention, but like, interpersonal connection with some sort of friend or whatever. But at the same time, I didn't as much as I didn't at the same. I can't put it into words right now, but there's a lot of people that talk shit on me and all this stuff. I used to play water polo and I fucking could barely swim. I pretty much sat on the bench the whole time. And, I only did that for 2 years before I ended up quitting. I mean, I ended up getting my car around, was it my junior year of high school or something. So since I didn't have to play a sport and I was kind of just a lot more interested in the car, I was like, oh, I don't know why the fuck I would go to practice if I could just spend time doing something, with something I can enjoy. But back to what I was saying, a lot of people just kind of talk shit on me and didn't really give a fuck about me or whatever. Since I was kind of an in my head person, I was just kind of known as like the, oh, Kieran's stupid or whatever, it just kind of not all there. And I get this car and then it's like, dude, all the fucking sudden, now everyone wants to be my friend. And I'm like, whoa, like, it was something that I had never experienced and didn't really expect. I was like, that's interesting. And it gave me I'm glad it happened that way, because it really did give me a quick insight when I was, at a early on point in life, that people will really switch up and change just because, you now have something, or you now represent something. And, that's not always a bad thing, though, because now that, you have whatever, that this a Subaru STI, that it's kind of a symbol, in a way. You kind of just represent who you are. Just kind of, it's represented as something different. And I mean, you do want people in your life that are looking, that also want people that strive for more. So definitely a part of it is just kind of like, it's the intriguing factor of who is this person. But then there are the people who just, now care about telling, their friends or whatever, oh yeah, I know so-and-so person because they, and they got this cool car or whatever. And that's what some people care about. But, so I kind of got to see that early on. And as soon as I got out of high school, I continued to build this car and stuff like that. And the only thing I could think during high school is, oh man, I can't wait until I get out of high school, because that's going to give me, I'm going to be able to now work a full-time job. I'm going to have, more money to spend on this car, and I'm going to do all these things I enjoy. And, I I did all those things, but I still kind of felt this, I don't know, almost just feeling of lack. I don't have the best words to put on it at the moment, but yeah, it was just kind of, it was just kind of like my life was still missing something. And with this being a Subaru, Subarus have Subaru problems, so I feel like that, the constant car issues kind of drove me towards trying to find something else in life that would bring me the same fulfillment as much as the car. And the car wasn't something that, I was willing to let go of, and it's, I'm still don't plan on selling that car. I've done so much to it. There's been so much hard work and time and money and effort put into it, and I still do enjoy it. But it wasn't, it's not only that it wasn't enough to, just be doing mods and stuff like that on it, but I also didn't want to associate, like, a lot of times I also, was spent fixing it, and I was like, well, I don't want the only thing that I enjoy to, me to be working on more broken than not, or whatever. And a lot of that had to do with, me going out on and just kind of driving around town just to drive the car, and putting extra miles on it, which, causes extra maintenance and wear and all that other stuff. And I mean, that's great, 100%, go out, drive your car and do what you want. But it's like, sometimes when you do have other things to do or whatever, you're just kind of driving the car to pass time. And then that can also, kind of lead to, each time you drive your car, it just kind of makes it not as, the spark isn't there as much, if that makes sense. So just a kind of a combination of things, led me into getting into training and just getting into the gym a little bit more. And I mean, it started off just with me and one of my buddies in his garage doing curls or whatever. And, the feeling of when I first started working out was kind of a lot similar to the feeling of, like, when I first got the car again. And I think that's, that similarity is partially what really made, it kind of stick for me. It was like, you do your first set of curls or whatever, and you're like, oh wow, I'm actually putting work into something, and it's, it feels great. And I mean, once again, that's what you're doing, when you build your car and all that shit, is like you're putting all this work into it and you're doing it because it feels great, but you don't ever put the correlation. It's like, well, maybe I could put that same work into myself and better myself as a person and better my physique, and I'm gonna get that same feeling towards myself. And in feeling better about myself, it just kind of, it makes life as a whole more enjoyable on a day-to-day standpoint. And I think all you guys can agree that if you're working, if life is not treating you the best, and and you're a car guy, the more shit life starts to kind of throw at you, it can kind of make you not want to have anything to do with your car anymore, because you're just like, oh, everything's fucked up. I don't want to. I think that a lot of it comes from, you don't want to lose the passion for your car, so you think that if you just shun it out of your life, then, you're not going to build up some sort of hatred or whatever towards it. But, in all reality, it's like, you can only work on, the same. You can only work on the same thing with your car so many times before, you kind of, you either get bored of doing the same maintenance, or, obviously mods are fucking expensive, so you got to spend a bunch of money on mods to do stuff. So it's like, when I used to work on my car, I used to just take my exhaust on, put it in off, and put it back on, just drive with the exhaust off and back on, just to kind of work on the car. And that was great and all, and then it kind of led to a lot of broken bolts, and then just fitment issues with the exhaust and all kinds of stuff, because I was doing a lot of pointless work. And like I was saying before, once I kind of put the connection that I could be working on myself instead of doing that, I don't know, it was just like a. Can you guys even hear me anymore? I forgot fucking this shit's connected right here. When I realized that I could be working on myself instead of doing the same maintenance part over and over again, not only did it give me something to do with all my free time, it kind of, it just made life so much more enjoyable. And now I started to kind of regain any passion that was lost for my car. And then, time went on and I did more to it, and, I continued with the gym and the physique and all that stuff. And then, of course, Subaru did Subaru things, and the engine ended up blowing. And, that was kind of a huge catalyst. Like, dude, I've put, so much time and effort into this car, and now, my one thing I enjoy about life, which was, the car, it was pretty much, it was gone for at least 2 years or something like that, at least, 2 or 3 years. It was a long time. And, I kind of just all watched it wash away. And in hindsight, I'm glad that things went the way they did, because it taught me a lot of important life lessons, and I want to be able to speak to you on this video and explain these things, if it didn't happen that way. But the engine ended up blowing up on the car, and now I needed something else to keep my mind going, and I got into a road of a lot of bad habits, and my life kind of turned into this downhill spiral, and I kind of fucked up a lot of shit. And at the same time, I also ended up fracturing my spine, so the car was gone. I couldn't work out because the spine was fractured, and it was just, it was a bad time. So I think that also led to my realization of how important fitness is and all that other stuff, because the car went away, and then the gym went away, and I was like, fuck, dude, what's the meaning in life or whatever. And yeah, I kind of went into this, downhill spiral and stuff like that, and eventually I worked my way back around. And I had to do that through, just a lot of self-discipline, a lot of self-talk, a lot of realization that, I got to face a lot of these inner demons and do a lot of things that, I just don't want to do or whatever. And then during this, since I didn't have a car or whatever, during this time period, I purchased another car. It was a 2012, no, I think it was 2013. It was a silver Mercedes C250. And I had that for a while before the fucking, and that was like, it gave me something, to look forward to. And I started doing a bunch of work on this thing, and I didn't even really get to drive it much because I was working on it so much in the garage because I wanted to mod it. And I wasn't working out at the time because my back was still fractured. And where was I going with this? Fuck. I'm losing my train of thought here. Yeah, so I had the C250, and anyways, the wheel ends up breaking off of this car, and it's like, fuck, dude, I went through all this shit, and then I got this other car, and then, that gets taken away from me, and, during that time, by the time that had happened, and that kind of whole fiasco cleared up, my injury on my back had started to heal up a lot more. So I was able to kind of get a lot more active and get back into the gym. And this is where, like, the real, passion started. Because that was really, this is really now, the gym was kind of like the only thing I had. And, I started training more. And I once again, that kind of, just like that interest when I first started working out, it re-sparked because it gave me something I was working towards. I was working towards improving my physique, improving my body, improving my mental health, pushing through, you're doing these sets or whatever, and your brain, your mind is telling you, oh, I don't want to push through this, this last rep. And then you go through that last rep and, you get the set over with, and now you feel just so much better that you actually went through it, and you're like, damn, I feel great. This is actually kind of nice. So yeah, I really started to improve, and that, started, I was like, well, if I can better myself in this way, how many more, how many more other avenues of life are there to better? And I kind of, through, once again, more self-discipline and taking more action, I just learned to kind of, do a lot more and understand that you just gotta, sometimes in life, you gotta do things you don't enjoy for a little bit, and that leads you to being able to either, one, you do end up enjoying them, but also, it kind of takes away that it makes you, like, rethink things before you do them, and typically how maybe before you would not want to do something, now you're a lot more willing to do it. And then during this time period or whatever, I ended up getting myself a new daily driver. So, since I didn't have my Subaru was blown up, and I got a Nissan 350Z, and it had a welded diff, and this kind of rekindled that, that want to drift again. Well, the want to drift again was there with the C250, because I had actually welded the diff in that thing, and I slid it a few times. And that doesn't have to do with the wheel breaking off, but that happened because the lug bolts were stripped on the rear wheel, and it ended up just getting lost when I was driving. But anyways, the Z really, re-sparked that feeling for drifting, and it was just, it just like how when I was younger and I used to, drive on the sim, I used to tell everyone, oh, I'm gonna learn to drift because, I'm on this sim or whatever, and everyone told me, oh, you're just 14, you don't know how to drive a car. That's nothing like that. Okay, well, I get the Z, and I learned how to drift pretty damn quick. Why? Because I spent so many hours on the sim, and I put so much practice into it. But if I would have listened to all these people, my family and just everyone else that told me, oh, you're never gonna learn or whatever, to drift, and I didn't just have this drive in my mind of, nope, I'm gonna learn to do this, and it's gonna be just like the real thing in real life, and even if it wasn't, if I knew, if I told myself that, it at least give me some sort of edge on learning how to drift in real life, and then I get the Z and boom, I learned how to drift, and it was, honestly, it was pretty quick that, I kind of just got the ropes around it real fast, and next thing you know, I know how to, slide corners and do third gear entries and stuff like that. And that all was based off, I learned from the sim, but once again, it goes back to, the confidence I had of, I'm going to learn this, and I'm not going to let other people get in my way and tell me that I can't do what I want to do with life. So the same thing comes to, it comes with your car that you're building. You have all these people that are like, why did you dump all this money into this thing? It's a waste of time, waste of money. It's stupid. Nobody cares about it. It's like, yeah, but I care about it. And, I look at it and I feel proud of the work that I put in. And that exact same feeling goes for your physique. And everyone tell you, oh, you're skinny, you're never gonna get anywhere in life. Oh, you're just a fat fuck, you're never gonna do anything with life. And they tell you this and they tell you that. Oh, why are you wasting your time at the gym? You're just gonna give up anyways. But you don't listen. You're like, nope, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna have a great physique, and I'm gonna be something great. And you just keep on working at it over and over, and it's like when you get your car, you plan on having that thing for at least 5 years. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to see the build all the way through. Dude, it's the same thing with your body. You got to just see it all the way through. Except for, it's so much cheaper to build your body than it is to build your car. And you don't have to stop working on your car and all that stuff to build your body, because then, kind of if you do stop doing that, then you start to get in this negative feedback loop of like, oh, I'm giving up one thing for the other. Like no, like if you build your physique and now you're like who you are, you attach this symbol to yourself of, I'm the person that works hard, that eats right, that builds my physique, to something that I never could have imagined before. And and then you go and you drive your car and you look at the work and you're like, I did this, and I can see the person I was and who I am now. And dude, it's the best feeling ever, knowing what I can accomplish just by putting in the work. And if these, it's like, one, if these negative events never happened to my life, I don't know if I'd get there. And it's not saying that you have to have a negative event to happen in your life for you to now make this change, but if you have, that's not a reason to not do what you're trying to do or what you want to do. That's like even more of a reason, dude. Like, let's do this thing. And there's just, if I would have listened to all these people that, told me when I was younger, oh, you're never going to learn to drift, why are you wasting your time? It's nothing like it's nothing like driving a car. It's like, if I would have listened to them, I would have never learned how to drift. And I would have kind of lost that passion, and that would have kind of gave me this feedback loop of that, my passions don't matter because, everyone's right about everything, but they're not. If you push through it and you just do it, it just works out, and you can better your life so much. And it's crazy, dude. Like, if I don't know where I'd be if I didn't finally decide to make that change and just go all in on building the physique, improving my health, doing things, stop listening what people say, and and put the fucking mods I want on my car. On my STI, you guys have probably seen on my Instagram, it's got a fucking huge ass diffuser on it. The amount of people I get and that tell me, oh, that's too big, it's stupid, a ton. But do I care? No. Why? Because I enjoy it. And I look at it and I'm like, that looks dope. I like the big arrow kit. That's it's just who I am. That car says Curin, So it's, you're doing this for you, and you're not doing it just to make all these other people happy, and you're not doing it to make all these other people happy. No matter what, you're gonna make somebody upset. Whether you do it or you don't, and that person might be close to you, that person might not be close to you. And think about it this way: it's like, even if it's your best friend or your closest family member is now kind of making comments at you and getting a little upset or whatever, and they're getting a little jealous that you're improving yourself and they're making snarky remarks. It's like, you're making them upset because you're doing what they wish that they could do, and they know they can't do it, but you can. And that makes them feel inferior to you. And it's not that you're trying to make them feel inferior, but just because they feel that way is not a reason to not better yourself. Why would you keep on wasting time? And why would you just let your life suffer because you don't want somebody else to feel inferior? If anything, and this, this is how it works. They say lead by example, because by you now improving your physique, by you now that you've improved your physique, your cognition is better, you're able to output more work, your boss is giving you a raise or giving you a better position, or now you have the the motivation and confidence to go find a new job instead of the one you're working at. They're gonna get so upset where they're gonna see a point where they're gonna be like, hey man, can I join in on whatever you're doing, because honestly, it's helping your life and I want to do it too. And they might not come up to you and say those exact words, and it might be over time, or they might ask you about it. Oh, how's the gym? What gym do you go to? And you kind of talk about it or whatever, and then you bring things up here and there, and they might occasionally make some remark. Oh, all you care about this gym now, too good for me or whatever. And it's like, don't let those comments that they make put you down. Don't let the things that other people say stop you from doing what you want to do. You just need to focus on growing yourself and becoming a better person, and enjoying life more, dude. It's like, you only got one shot at this, so don't sit there and waste it away. And it can really feel sometimes like the weight of the world is on top of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But under that circumstance, looking at the very polar extremes, it's like, if you feel like the weight of the world is on top of you, and you're walking to the road of death, of even an early death, it's like, okay, well, if you better yourself and you put all this effort into it, it's like, one, it's not going to kill you, but even if it feels like it does, what's the other option? Suffer through the end of it? At least build something in the process that's going to make you feel good about it. Like, you could die, and you could die tomorrow. Life is not guaranteed. So do you want to, if you died tomorrow, but you were like, I started today, and you're like, at least I know I took that first step. Would you rather be like that, or would you rather, think, I never took that first step, I wish I would have, Like, come on. So, and I'm not trying to fear-monger you, telling, oh, you're going to die tomorrow and all this other shit. There's the probability is that you're going to live a long, healthy, good life. But that being said, you want to make the best of it. You don't want to keep on wasting it away. You don't want to keep on not living at your fullest potential. And even if maybe it's not that bad how it is right now, it could be so much better. And why would you not want life to be better? That's not being what's the word for it, man? That's not being selfish. Like, you're supposed to strive for more in life. That's like the point. So, do something, man. Let's move forward and take that first step and finally make that change. And I think your life's gonna change a lot. And I hope that this can really resonate with one of you guys, and it can these videos can be something that you guys can go to and kind of if you're feeling like you feel like somebody isn't in your exact position. I've been there, and I know what it's like to be have this constant self-doubt, and you have to constantly mentally coach yourself throughout the day. That's just part of life, and it's like you're gonna have to do that anyways. And if you keep on pushing through, it does get easier with time. And it's not just like, life gets harder, but the reason it gets easier is because you get so much better. So since you are so much better, it now just becomes easy. It's like you see all these big bosses that are fucking driving nice ass cars and doing all this shit, and you're like, man, it just seems like another day for them. That's because they put in all this repetition, and they worked on it, and they put so much work in, and it just became part of their life. And next thing you know, they're fueled by this hard work, and they're fueled by they're fueled by the things they have to do each day. But if they never took that first step, and if they never just if they never just kept pushing, and if they would have listened to all the bullshit that people say, all the little remarks and all that other shit, they would have never got anywhere. Even if you're you're on this routine of getting to bed early and getting home early, and next thing you know, you had to stay up late for some reason, and now your family is like, you were up late last night, and that can, for some people, that, and even for me when I was younger, just simple comments like that used to like be fucking skull crushing, and it's like, I shouldn't, but dude, it doesn't matter, man. Just all you have to do is focus on yourself and make life better, because it's not selfish to focus on yourself and better yourself. You're going to be able to lead by example. It's selfish to let yourself wither away and show people that life is bad when it's not. So you don't want to give people a false representation that everything's miserable. That's how depression spreads. Life is so much better than you think it could be, and even if it's going great right now for you, it could be going so much better than it is. So move forward and pursue your passion. Don't give a fuck about what all these people say, and I hope you guys enjoy this. Have a good one.